why is this brand getting a 10% sign up rate on their sign up form, and other brands with the same offer are only getting 2% or even 1% or even less than that? I'm going to explore this in this video, and the answer is not just your audience is less price sensitive. That is, I think, something that people like to say to kind of justify that, oh, well, we can't change anything about the sign up rate, so we might as well not think about it too much. I think it's a mistake. No one likes to put in their email. So if 10% are doing it for one brand, then that means that that brand has found something that really speaks to that audience, because people don't like putting in their email. So if we're getting 10%, let's think about what this brand is doing and how we can apply it. And apparently it's not as simple as copying an offer and applying it to your business, because then we wouldn't have such massive difference as, I've seen this where brands were trying this and getting actually less than 1% sign up rate, and then this brand is getting more than 10% sign up rate on this form. And it's not a crazy offer, it's a good offer, but it's not it's not like a super creative one. It's something that a lot of brands are doing. So why is this brand getting so much out of that offer? Let's think about this from a product standpoint. And I'm just going to ask you a question. Do you think, or do you remember a moment where you were at the supermarket and you knew that you didn't have toilet paper in the house and you were wondering if you should buy toilet paper? I'm going to guess you have never been in such a situation, because for most people, when you know you don't have toilet paper in the house, you're going to buy toilet paper. So the question is never, should I buy toilet paper? The question is, which toilet paper should I buy, right? And we can assume that a lot of visitors who are on this website are either looking for toilet paper now, or more likely just looking for alternatives, exploring options. They've been on a good ad, they've looked at this brand, they found out that it's non-toxic, and they found out all these things about other options that are in the supermarket and that maybe might not be as good for them as they thought. And they're trying to see if they can get more value out of their toilet paper, basically. So it is the base, the base product is a commodity, which means that people don't need to be convinced that they need it. They know that they need it. They just need to be convinced that this brand is what they need, right? So if we think about this in terms of the 5 stages of awareness by Gene Schwartz, and this is I got this from a website on a simple Google search. You can look this up, but we don't have, for this brand, there's no people who are unaware or problem aware, meaning there's no people that don't know they need toilet paper, and there's no one who doesn't know that how to solve the problem of not having toilet paper. And what does that mean? That means we don't have to educate people on the fact they need toilet paper. We need to educate them on the fact they need this brand's toilet paper, which is a different discussion, right? But if we show them a product, if we show them a pop-up, even at the beginning, that says you're gonna get 20% off your first subscription order of toilet paper, people, as long as people don't think from the start, oh, this is worse than all the other options I've seen, they might take it because it's toilet paper. They know they're going to need it. So why not take 20% off something you know you're going to need in the future? It's they know it. It's not something that they're like, I think so. It's like, you need toilet paper. Everyone knows that. So this is why, this offer doesn't really need much explaining or justifying. There's value. And this is the next concept that I want to get into, is perceived value. It's all about the perceived value. So for this brand, I'm going to talk about other brands in a second. I just want to explain really the concept with this. For this brand, I drew this wonderful graph that, if you're like, don't get offended, it's not very mathematical. It's more a visual representation. We have the perceived value, which is the key thing about this whole idea. And that's benefits, problems it solves, pain it reduces, status it gives you, and so on, minus the price. Right? So let's say the price point is a little bit higher. Let's say people don't know about the price point yet because they're still reading up on it. We're going to start here. And then over time, people are going to see ads, they're going to see, read the website, think about things. If you read about toxic chemicals in your toilet paper, you might want to just go on Reddit or just go on Google and look that up. And as you find out more things about it, the perceived value grows because the benefits are growing. Now at this point, this is where the perceived value is, right? It's somewhere. And then if you give them a discount at that stage, people see that there's a perceived value. The higher the perceived value, the higher the perceived value of the product, the higher the perceived value of the discount, right? Because if your product is worth $100 in the customer's minds, right, the price point might be $1,000. If your product is worth $100 in the customer's minds and you give them 20% off, then the perceived discount is $20 in the customer's minds. If your product's perceived value is $1,000 in the customer's minds and then you give them $20 at 20% off at that point, suddenly the discount is worth $200 to them in their minds. Obviously, those are very extreme examples just to kind of visualize and keep it easy to calculate, but the idea is the higher you can build this perceived value before you give the discount, the better. So, we get the discount at the stage where they've educated themselves a little bit, the perceived value jumps because the price suddenly is going down. So that has removed a lot of objections. And then we keep we continue our trajectory where they're getting educated and so on. This is the important part, right? The discount makes it jump, makes the perceived value jump. Now, if you are in a market that has, a lot of people that are unaware of the problem, or they are problem aware, but they're not sure that they don't know that there's a solution, that is a different story completely, right? Because now you have to first explain to those people why they need your product in the first place, which is something that this brand, Plant Paper, doesn't have to deal with. They have their other challenges, in their marketplace, but this is not a problem they have to deal with. They don't have to explain to people that they need toilet paper. If you're selling, let's say, an electrical appliance that will solve a problem, you have to explain how it works and how it's going to solve the problem. Even if you're selling, let's say, a new beverage or something, you have to explain how it's going to make, how it's going to bring value to people. So how does that look in this visualization? So now we have a different graph for this different type of product. I'm just calling it a specialty product. I think there's probably a term for it. I just mean a product that, it falls into those stages of awareness with a lot of their site visitors, people are going to buy the product. What is the difference here? So I kept the same, as assumption that as you grow more familiar with the brand, you're going to start learning more things about the brand. If at that point you get a discount but obviously, so let's say you learn at the same speed, but where does the perceived value start? It starts at zero because people don't know that they have the problem, or they don't know that they need this solution, or that they need a solution for this problem at all, or that the solution exists at all. So you have to explain to them all of these things before you can even give them a discount, because if you give them a discount at this stage, the perceived value is zero, so the perceived value of the discount is going to be 20% of zero, which is going to be zero. So this is a super important concept, and this is really the core thing in this video, is if you don't build the perceived value first before you give the discount, then your discount is going to be zero to the customer. And that's why a lot of these offers are failing, is because there's not enough value that's built before the discount is being shown, which means that people see a discount, but they don't even know that they want the product, right? So if you don't want the product, you don't want the discount, obviously, like if you're buying a product for $1,000 and getting 20% off of it, that's still $800 you have to give away that we haven't built the value for yet. So as you can see, if the value is lower, you spend some time educating yourself, it grows, then a discount comes, even if the perceived value is, if it's lower, then the jump in perceived value that the discount is going to give you is going to be much lower as well. And then you keep going. Obviously, and this is the idea, right, is you have to find offers that will help you build perceived value instead of just throwing discounts at people. Some brands can get away with throwing discounts at people because these steps have already been taken, and so that is an advantage for them. They can just give people 20% off, and people know, oh, this is toilet paper. I know what this is. I know what it does. I need it. I know I need it. It's not a question. The question is later, how do we turn these people into actually converting? Because then we need to start convincing them that this brand is actually a good brand for you to spend money on. But if you're selling something else, I'm just going to give you an example. There are some skincare brands out there that do these custom skin treatment recipes or skin routines, or basically they give you a quiz and you reply to a bunch of questions, and based on the questions that you reply to, you get a special treatment that's just for you, or some products that are custom made for you. And I love this approach because at the end you have to give your email before you can see the results. So you're getting people to think about their problems. You're getting them to think about your solutions because they can think, oh, this is interesting. This brand is showing me that they are going to actually address this one issue that I've been having with my skin because they just asked me about it, and they're going to actually take that into consideration in my custom formulation. This is really interesting. They're really solving those problems I'm having. And so this is kind of almost unconscious, subconscious way of selling to the customer, showing them that you're building something that's custom to them, and then at the end, to see the results that they've been working to get, they need to put their email in. And so what does that look like here? That is a faster way of building value, right? That's you're a little bit slow here, but you're building value throughout this whole creation process. So now, let's say if you're building this value really quickly by really engaging your users, you might get to this point much faster. And then if you also say, I'm going to give you a discount, then you get the same jump in perceived value because they think, oh, this brand has addressed all my problems that I've mentioned that I didn't even know I had. They suggest a very interesting solutions, and now they're also going to give me a discount, and maybe it's only valid for a couple of hours or days. I'm now much more likely to buy this. You're not going to think that actively, but this is kind of the idea, right? And then we have the email, and this is what is going to give you a higher sign up rate, because what people need in the beginning, and this is what this third graph shows. I'm not going to name it. I'm just going to leave it here. This third graph shows that what people need when the perceived value starts at 0 is they need more value. And the way you build value when your perceived value is 0, when you're starting at 0, is not by discounting your product, because people don't even see the value in your product yet. The way to do it is to start with building a ton of perceived value, as much as you possibly can, and then getting to that stage where the perceived value is high. At that moment, you can give a discount. You don't need to. You can keep going the value building route, and you're still gonna make a lot of sales, and maybe even more than with a discount. But a discount is an easy way to increase perceived value. It just has to be done at the right time, and you have to be aware of your customers' awareness of you. In the sense, you have to know how much your customers know about your product, how much that makes them value your brand, and based on that, you give a discount at a specific time. And so in this case, the discount would not be a pop-up. It would be some email retargeting, or even Facebook ad remarketing, where we know that people are engaged. They've done this, taken these steps. They've taken the quiz, and now they haven't purchased for some reason. So now we're going to hit them with ads and emails saying, hey, you fill out your quiz, don't let this run, we can't hold on to the recipe forever, and so on. You just build this urgency, and you use the perceived value you've built. And by the end, you can say, if you buy today, we're going to give you 10% off with this code. And now they know that there's perceived value. They know they have this product in stock, and now you have a high perceived value. And if you discount that, then the perceived value will really jump from having a discount. So That one last thing I want to mention before I end this, because I know this was a long one, but it's very important to understand the dynamics behind pop-ups and not just accept that pop-ups are, that your audience has a low sign up rate. Because I'm seeing, I'm seeing some brands where it's like the pop-up is doing 1% sign up rate, and then the emails themselves are getting 5% click rate, which is really high. And the brand owners are kind of accepting that situation, and I'm like, but your audience is very interested in emails, they're very engaged, there's no reason that we can't convert some more people into the funnel. And I think it's always difficult because you need to really think about the right offer and find the right offer, and it's not always easy to fulfill, it's not always easy to set up, but I think it's really worth it in the long term because it's going to lead to a lot more sales up front if you build value with your customers the right way. And also it's just going to lead to an asset being built, which is your email list, which if you're spending time building emails or spending money having someone build emails for you and send them, the more people you can send those emails to, the more money you can make, and the cost is almost the same. So this is why thinking about these offers is so important. You're really building out and feeding the revenue machine that is your email funnel, and the more you feed it, the more you're going to get out, right? The more your inputs increase, the more your outputs increase. So one last thing I want to say before I end this, there's also one thing that is an offer that I've seen more on the side of service providers or educational, like courses. They love giving away free stuff, and a lot of it is just free PDFs and digital materials, because you build those once and then you just give them away for free, and you don't have any cost in fulfilling those. They're great because you don't have to give up 20% of your of your revenue right there, but they are also great because they help you build value. And a lot of people kind of look down on those as a sketchy and kind of guru-y way of attracting emails. I really think it depends on the way it's done. I mean, if you think about it, can you say for sure that your audience will not enjoy digital content that is relevant to them? I don't think we can say that. For every audience, they all consume some sort of content. So then it's up to the brand, to find that content, find the medium that will make sense for them, and give them information that will solve a problem they have in a medium they like. If you think about it that way, giving your audience information about a problem they have, or solving a problem your audience has with the medium that they enjoy. If you phrase it that way, how could that not work? How could that not be interesting to your audience? You're tailoring it to your audience. So what I'm saying is, think about those digital means of building value. And if you think your perceived value is low from the start, people don't really, people are, if people are in one of those two stages of awareness, when they go into your website, basically your perceived value is going to be low. So if people are in one of those two stages of awareness, which is a lot of e-commerce business are, have a ton of visitors that are in one of those stages. If that's the case, then think about ways to build perceived value before you offer discounts. It will be so much more impactful. You will spend less money fulfilling those signups, even if it costs you some money up front to set them up. Over time, you will spend a lot less money, giving up you will not have to give up your margins. You will not have to cheapen your brand perception. People aren't going to have the first impression people get from your brand will not be, oh, they're hitting you with discounts. It's going to be, they're educating me about the product. This is a problem I didn't know I had. Interesting. Let me keep reading. So you're building a different kind of relationship with your customer. You're attracting a different kind of customer. You're attracting a customer, and this is more for high-end brands. But if you're in high-end brands, you're attracting a customer who is interested in learning about the problems they have rather than bargain hunting, which is going to be a much more profitable avenue to pursue. So you're solving a lot of problem by setting up the right not discount, the right pop-up strategy from the beginning. You know, you're growing your email list, but you're also doing so much more, right? You're sending signals to your audience, and you are potentially, beyond growing your list, also increasing sales right there by having the right offer and keeping people engaged, building a relationship with them, and making them more aware of your brand, but to the point where hopefully they become very aware and become loyal customers. So that's what I wanted to share about the dynamics behind pop-ups and why some brands get much higher sign-up rates than other brands. I think this is not explored enough. There are lots of people talking about different types of offers, you know, giveaways versus discounts versus all kinds of, you know, free items, BOGOs, and so on. There are tons of offers out there, and they're all good, but they're all good for specific use cases. So what, you know, I think you can really benefit instead of guessing and saying, I think, well, let's just try this offer, and the next month let's try that offer, and then let's try another one. You're gonna get a lot of offers that don't work. Instead of guessing, start doing this research or even thinking exercise, because if you're a brand owner, you probably already know where your customers are in this. So from there, it's pretty easy to just think about this visualization and just say, well, my starting perceived value is here, and by the time people see my pop-up, really, I mean, it's just only here. If your starting perceived value is here, and by the time people see your pop-up, it's like around here, then there's really no point in showing them a pop-up, because we haven't built any value yet. So the pop-up is not going to do, the discount is not going to do anything. So we're going to try a different offer. We're going to try to just build some value, and then at this stage, maybe we can show a pop-up. And then, you know, and you should be able to see. You should be able to see the impact of those different strategies pretty quickly. So think about that theory for a little bit before you build a new strategy and a new offer. I think it's going to save you a lot of time down the road, you know, testing offers that weren't going to work in the first place. You know, like last example, but if you are in this category and you've been trying 10% off every offer, which I think is probably the most common offer out there, it works for some people, but if it hasn't been working for you and you know that you're in this category, maybe don't try the 15% off discount, because that's based on this. It's not going to work, right? You're still giving 15% off of a perceived value that's too low. So that's why this graph is helpful. If that's you, and because I'm saying that because it's a lot of the brands that I work with have this sort of discussion. If that's you, then scrap the discounts. Try something else. You know, try something that is going to get you in this category, that you build this value before even talking about discounts. So I hope this helped. I hope it wasn't too much repetition. There's a lot of theory behind this, and it's not talked about a lot, so I wanted to make sure that this is very clear, and I hope that my little graph helped. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or feedback, and thank you for watching.